Here together as a middle and upper school to hear from 7 students, 7 of your peers who went to the Student Diversity Leadership Conference, the People of Color Conference last week. Diversity is a word that can shake and scare some people, but it is something that we are immersed in every moment of our life. We're all different. You can look at the person next to you and find similarities, likenesses, maybe some common ground, but you can also find difference. So every single one of us in this place is different from every single other person in this place. Yet hopefully, in all that diversity, we find common ground, common values, ways that we can live together respectfully, where we can disagree, and we can be together in ways where we're all richer for each other. But that takes work. I was at the conference as well. And I've done a variety of different conferences in my time as a teacher. And I'm actually really thankful that I'm a teacher, because I'm not sure I'd be doing that work if I wasn't. But for you, I hope you can listen today. Take time in chapel today to hear the words of these 7 individuals as they come up to speak, and try and internalize some of the things they're talking about, because it can be easy to ignore. It can be easy to not pay attention. And it can be easy to go on with business as usual. And we will be better off if we don't do that. So I would ask you to stand just once to greet this group: Emma Kloppenberg, Monique McKenney, Thomas Poynton, Sine Allen, Faith Stewart, Maria Burke, and Chase Seegers. Please stand to greet this wonderful group.
At SDLC, we learn the power of silence. So before I start my speech, I would just like to deliver the message that the SDLC group decided on. Instead of applauding after each speech, please show the universal sign of love. My 2 experiences with SDLC, this year and last, has forever changed me as a person. Being there, I knew that everyone around me had a similar life-changing experience. The last day I was there, my group leader asked why he chose this as his job. After explaining how SDLC literally saved his life in high school, he stated that he did this work so that all kids can have one place in their life where they knew they are wanted and loved. For some, as it was for him, this was the first time in his whole life where he went to a place where he felt truly accepted for who he was. SDLC, for me, is a place where I've realized the privileged life I live. During the closing ceremonies this year, an autistic high school boy came up in front of 2,000 people and delivered one of the most eloquent statements I've ever heard. Everyone could visibly hear and see the struggle it was to even talk, let alone in front of that many people. Yet he delivered a message that will forever stick with me. He said simply, "You are never alone. If you are ever having a bad day, just know that other people are too. You are never alone." SDLC is a community of people in an open environment with honest dialogue. Through shared stories and extensive conversations, the people around you in just 3 short days become close to family. I heard more stories in that one room than I never thought kids my age at a private high school just like this one would and could ever go through. It was heartbreaking yet eye-opening, and it continues to make me rethink my actions daily. It is hard to put into words exactly what is SDLC, because simply, SDLC is just a place of peace.
I have learned that when you fall, get up and try again. I applied to SDLC for 2 consecutive years before I was accepted to participate. Looking back, I am so thankful for my determination. This year, there were over 1,400 students from independent schools nationwide who attended SDLC 2010. These students created the outstanding atmosphere that SDLC is famous for. There, you can be whoever and whatever you are without judgment. There, you could come out as homosexual without whispers behind your back. There, you don't have to think twice about your race. There, you can be proud of whatever background you come from. It is an accepting, loving environment where no one is concerned with fitting a mold. Paired with this amazing sense of community at SDLC is the curriculum. Instead of sitting through lectures, we were able to interact with our peers and learn from each other. Sensitive topics like oppression and privilege were confronted, and conversations run deeper than what's going on in Malvern or Wayne this weekend. Students at SDLC are more concerned with promoting acceptance and acknowledging diversity, not ignoring it. In closing, I stress the fact that with a closed mind, it is impossible to see the world and the opportunities in front of you. Don't miss out. Thank you.
Diversity doesn't mean difference. It means equality. I had my doubts about going to SDLC. I didn't know what to expect. Everyone said it was going to be a life-altering experience, and I just didn't see it. On the first day, I learned that everyone had his or her own story, and no one was identical. We were truly diverse. I came into the conference with the general dictionary definition of diversity: a variety, a group of differences. Over the course of the conference, hearing the struggles of my new friends, hearing how people felt so belittled by their community that they thought they weren't good enough to belong there, it hit me. The ones who have the audacity to come out with their different views are the strongest. They are the ones who we all must brace, and they are the ones who can teach us. We are all different, and therefore, we are all equal. Everyone's point of view can alter his or her community. It takes one voice to create a cause, and only one follower to start a revolution. Mrs. Daniel, head of lower school, told us, every step you take to make a difference does make a difference, even if you don't see it immediately. I still wasn't seeing the difference I made at the conference. Sure, I made a lot of new friends, and I had a great time. But still, how did I have an impact on the people there? During the closing ceremony, I found my impact. Everyone who wanted to was allowed to speak about his or her journey, about what he or she was feeling. A lot of people went up to the microphone, but I kept hearing the same thing. The ones who I mentioned earlier, the people who felt they weren't good enough, they changed. They didn't just feel good enough, they're ready to make a difference. Being able to make others feel accepted in a society where change is more often than not frowned upon, this was my life-altering experience. In a span of 30 minutes, I saw spirits come back to life and heard voices that wished ever so long to be expressed. They taught me the real definition of diversity. We are meant to be different, and through sharing our experiences, we gain knowledge, we grow stronger, and we are equal.
Quote, I was talking to a friend of mine who is at the airport struggling to stay awake. My response, as expected, take a nap. He responded by saying, I'm a black man in an environment where I've never been accepted while I'm awake. Who knows what will happen if I'm asleep? The Student Diversity Leadership Conference helped me to understand that the basis for imperfection is oppression. The most common misunderstanding that the definition of being diverse is being a person of color. In its simplest form, being diverse is being different, and difference has never been the root of the problem. That even in a world without differences in race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender, that even in a world without differences in religion or background, there would still be some type of oppression, unless there's empowerment. And then it taught me that the empowerment is not completely effective unless it is both as an individual and as a community. Empowerment is a cycle. It starts with leadership and being the first one to acknowledge imperfection, then embracing or changing whatever it is that you would accept as a flaw. In doing so, you stand up. And in standing up, you stand out so that the people surrounding you will enter the cycle as well. And coming from the conference, I honestly wouldn't say that my life has been drastically altered because I'm not a different person and because I haven't all of a sudden developed into an entirely new character. I have, however, been able to embody traits of myself that I never had the confidence to share before, because I have now been exposed to an environment closer to perfection than I had ever believed possible. Because in just days, I have established relationships that will last for years, because 1,453 other students in independent schools just like EA trust me with their lives, and I entered the conference not sure about mine. SDLC helped me to make it my responsibility to be a student leader, to be the one who empowers, to be the one who works toward perfection, so that any and everywhere, any and everyone may happen to be, they would feel loved and safe, both awake and asleep.
At SDLC, people find who they really are on the inside. You see so many different people who don't care what others think and embrace every single one of their differences. This inspires more people and drives them to embrace their own individualities, not try to cover them up and hide them. The kids at SDLC become confident and independent people who are now 100% their true selves and completely comfortable with it. I saw the diversity in people, not by their skin, but by their opinions and beliefs. I also saw their pride in who they are, and I became inspired by this. There's a cycle involved. SDLC likes to call it the cycle of empowerment. This cycle starts with inspiration and courage and ends with independence and freedom. The independence you gain radiates off of you and inspires others to acknowledge and appreciate their own differences, and the cycle starts again in them. The freedom you gain is something you keep. It's the freedom to be who you are and proud, the freedom from oppression and oppressors, freedom of your own restrictions. This freedom is the key to yourself. I don't think being a freshman changed this experience at all for me. I got to know all of these wonderful, amazing, beautiful people from all around the country, and not one asked how old I was. Age did not matter. Race did not matter. Sexual orientation did not matter. External things didn't matter. All that mattered was that we were all people on the inside, all teenagers attending independent schools around the country. Everyone at the conference sees you for who you really are, and they accept you for it, even if they don't agree with it. It was remarkable to be able to go up to someone and talk about anything. Not pointless things like who's going out or who posted what on whose wall, but things we actually cared about and were passionate about, things we wanted to change. So be yourself, and remember this quote from Gandhi: "Be the change you wish to see in the world." If you take one thing away from this, remember not to be afraid of being yourself, of being different. And if you ever feel like you can't do it all on your own, SDLC will change your life.
Almost 1 year ago today, I sat exactly where you're sitting right now, rolling my eyes and muttering to my friends, waiting for chapel to end before it had even started. And then Mrs. Portlock stood up and announced that chapel was going to be about the Student Diversity Leadership Conference. Great. My first reaction, no way. Not for me. Not my thing, not my problem. And as I listened to the words life-changing, life-altering, amazing, incredible, I was skeptical, even scornful. And I'll admit, their message certainly did not resonate then. But I'm asking you to do it differently. Hear the words I'm saying and think about them, because at some point, they will matter in your life, and you will be forced to listen. It may not be now, or next week, or even next year, and it probably won't be me saying them, but you will, at some point, need to hear them and understand. For me, it was about 10 months later when I walked by the board with the SDLC application, and something in me clicked, and I grabbed one. Fast forward about 5 weeks, and I was sitting on an airplane at the beginning of a 6-hour flight to San Diego. Still questioning, still skeptical, but also curious about this life-changing journey on which I was about to embark. And when I got there, I was shocked. Not by an immediate life-changing experience, but by the incredible nature and atmosphere of the conference. There were no lectures, no formal agendas, no class time. It was just people from all different backgrounds sitting in rooms, talking about themselves, their stories, about racism, sexism, and classism. Just talking and sharing their views and experiences. And the most incredible part? In the safe environment of SDLC, they were all accepted for exactly who they were. But even though the conference was turning out to be a lot more fun than I'd expected, because there weren't any lectures and there wasn't any formal learning, I still didn't understand how this was supposed to teach me about diversity. About midway through the second day, I sat with one of my newly made friends going through one of the activities, and I came to a relatively profound conclusion. This was diversity. All of these people sitting around me telling their stories. They were diversity. It's not about the broad concepts or dictionary definitions. It's about putting a face to racial profiling or sexism or classism and humanizing the abstract ideas. So on the plane ride back, I was still a little unclear, still questioning, still just this far away from fully understanding. But I'm okay with that, because I also realize that it is truly a work in progress. Nothing about diversity is immediate. It is the result of hundreds of tiny, almost immeasurable actions made by people striving for a more equal world. But lastly, I want to reach out to each of you. I sat where you were last year, and I thought the exact same things that some of you are thinking right now. I can see myself in some of you, scornfully questioning this experience, but I'm okay with that too. Because part of this conference is that it doesn't matter why you go. It doesn't matter if you thought only of college or skipping school or the weather or whatever your motivation is. This conference has the remarkable ability to affect you no matter why you come, who you are when you arrive, or what you think you will get out of it. SDLC is inspiring and introspective, and it creates an incredible sense of optimism that you too can make a difference. It doesn't matter who you are, what race you are, where you come from. You are all equal in both the ability and the obligation to strive for the creation of an accepting, tolerant, and just community.
One of the most attractive qualities in human beings is their diversity. No matter how far you travel or who you see, you'll never meet two people who are exactly alike. Each person has a unique story to tell and spends their life making their story as interesting and enjoyable as possible. The Student Diversity Leadership Conference is an opportunity for students across the country to share their stories while acquiring additional insight through others' accounts. SDLC allows students to let their guard down and feel comfortable with their vulnerability. Each individual knows that they will not be judged for being themselves. One of the beautiful aspects of this conference is that it provides each of its members with experiences that make them wiser, more cultured, and more aware of their role in society. Upon returning to the conference for my second year, I immediately witnessed the injustices in stereotyping individuals. While participating in group icebreakers, the Haverford student with pale light skin approached our circle of reflection. Sarcastically, a member of our group explained, your parents have to be from Africa or something along those lines. His response was shocking to all of us. Yes, he said, actually they are both from Egypt. Now let me ask you a question. Do you feel that you dress, act, are interested in the same activities as everyone else in your race? If you don't feel that your image should be conformed to a cluster of stereotypes, then why should anyone else's? I also learned that because each person's journey is unique, I will not always be able to identify with the situation that another person is facing. A wise member of my group used a saying to articulate how one can address this issue. Even if you can't put yourself in another person's shoes, you can always fill the next pair. This means that no matter what circumstances another is facing, you can always find ways to show your support. We all need somebody to lean on, and sometimes the smallest efforts can have the greatest impact on a person's life. One of the most useful lessons I gained from this experience is that you can never be too versatile. I was especially enamored with the concept of experimenting with new behaviors to expand your range of response. I'll say that one more time. Experimenting with new behaviors to expand your range of response. I appreciated this idea because many of my peers from school feel that school is one-dimensional and talks excessively about its flaws. Some even go as far as saying that our students could be morphed all into one person. I respond to this with the same words that Ernest Green, the first African American to graduate from an integrated high school, said to us: promote change. If there's one aspect that you wish to improve upon on our school, then speak up about it. Let your voice be heard. It is one thing to have great visions, and another to formulate words and ideas from them. But those who can take their visions and act upon them will make it farthest in this world. While I'm not encouraging anyone to jeopardize their tenure at EA, I am encouraging you to experiment with something new. Be spontaneous and unpredictable. It can be very exciting and surprising to experiment with new behaviors and see how others feel about it. Who doesn't enjoy a breath of fresh air? The theme of the SDLC conference this year was anchoring ourselves in the community harbor, and I said that progress is my anchor. I am proud to say that the progress of our community has improved in many aspects, such as diversity. However, we still have to improve before we can say that everyone on our campus feels embraced. As a member of the SDLC community, it is my responsibility to apply the lessons I've learned towards improving our community in ways that I see fit. I would like to end with a statement that one of my fellow BAS Squad members declared: never apologize for being great. Don't walk lightly in fear of setting the ground to others. Never compromise your integrity. Pound the ground with your swagger strut and make something out of each opportunity life presents you with. Thank you for listening.
Good morning. I'm so proud of Emma, Monique, Thomas, Sine, Faith, Maria, and Chase for taking a risk in order to further their understanding of self and in turn make a difference for others. Their commitment to growth is a reflection of their hope, faith, and love in themselves and in their community. Henry Ford once said, "If you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you're right." Taking a risk to further your understanding of self, to better your community, is up to you. The decision is yours. Thank you.